One of my favorite comic series from the 90s is Marvel What If. I love Marvel What If. I have the first issue. I have so many issues of Marvel What If. So I'm going to be doing a few of those this week, I think. Tomorrow is probably going to be the What If Jane Foster had found Thor's hammer, because that's obviously relevant right now. But I didn't want to do it like right after doing another video about Jane Foster. So I'll put that off till tomorrow. And sometime this week, you might be getting a video essay that I'd written called How the MCU Disrespects Spider-Man. And so I've written and recorded that. I just need to finish editing it. But anyway, the What If series is basically a series of alternate universe stories in Marvel Comics. And as you're probably familiar, Marvel just announced at San Diego Comic-Con that they're going to be doing a What If series taking place like with the MCU actors, and it's going to be animated. I can't wait. So I'm also working on a pitch video for that. So you might see that tomorrow. You might see this tomorrow. One of those two things you'll see tomorrow. And I'm coming up with like basically a bunch of feasible pitches, like with the actors that are cast, and a bunch of ones that I think would be cool that that would never happen because they don't have the actors for it. But I might have to enlist the help of my boy Nerdicane on this one because I feel like he would have some pretty cool ideas. He's a big idea guy, Nerdicane. He's very creative with this sort of thing. So Marvel What If? This is issue 17, if I'm not mistaken. With these True Believers editions, I always mark it on the back of the board so that it's easier to categorize in my collection because it's rather large. Yeah, so what if Kraven the Hunter had killed Spider-Man? So if you're not familiar with the original story, this is a spin-off of Kraven's Last Hunt. And what Kraven's Last Hunt is basically like Kraven's last-ditch effort to defeat Spider-Man. And basically what happens is he shoots Spider-Man in the chest and he kills him, basically. Or he's on the verge of death or whatever. It's not 100% clear. But because Peter Parker has a healing factor after he's buried for Kraven, by Kraven rather, after about 2 weeks he he basically like heals back from the dead and or the verge of death or whatever, and he comes back and retaliates against Kraven, who while he was dead or unconscious or what have you, while he was healing, suffice it to say, was active as Spider-Man. He was operating as Spider-Man in absence of Peter Parker, because he says to truly defeat the Spider, you had to become the Spider, and so that was the thing he did. He also ate a whole room full of spiders during that 6-issue miniseries or 6-issue storyline, and it's like one of the all-time classic Spider-Man stories. And I wish they'd do it in the MCU, but I doubt they will. At least in the same way they did it. Point is, Spider-Man doesn't die at the end. Spider-Man wins, and Kraven shoots himself in the head. He kills himself because he was a failure. But anyway, so this is a What If. And basically in these What If books, and I certainly hope this is something they do in the series, the Disney Plus show, is the Watcher would sort of, a Watcher rather, would sort of introduce us to one of these said universes. So the Watcher's like basically ICL, I saw every possible reality. This is one such reality where something happens differently, and then it just sort of, he lets the story play out. And so this is one where Kraven straight up kills Spider-Man. He actually dies, despite the fact that there's no hole in his chest or anything. And so he's dancing with glee. And so I will have to skip a couple pages for the copyright gods, as Nerdicane says. But he eats a room of spiders and becomes Spider-Man, or a version of Spider-Man. Mary Jane is understandably very concerned, so she goes to the Baxter Building and enlists the help of Spidey's best friend for many years, since Amazing Spider-Man #1, Johnny Storm. And so she gets Johnny Storm on the case, and Johnny Storm gets longtime friend of Spider-Man, Captain America, and Daredevil on the case as well. And so basically what happens is they go out and attempt to find Spider-Man. And one of my favorite romances in comics is obviously the one between Nelson and Murdoch. But in superhero terms, one of my favorite dynamics is the Daredevil Spider-Man friendship. I think that's a lot of fun. So basically, some of Spider-Man's best friends and allies go searching for him, and they keep finding Kraven the Hunter, and basically with each encounter, like they all individually decide that it can't be Spider-Man because they've known Spider-Man for years and he doesn't act this way. And so basically I mean, like, also he doesn't, like, he clearly doesn't use any sort of spider-based abilities, so they shouldn't, like, even if you didn't know Spider-Man, it should be pretty obvious. Also, he's got a Russian accent, but, like, see, he's yelling, and so presumably he's using a Russian accent. Brought Russia to ruin, like, he's ranting about Russia and everything, so, I mean, you'd have to be a moron. But basically, they say because they're Spider-Man's friends, they know him. And so we still get the Vermin bit from the original comic, but here it plays out a little differently. Basically, Vermin takes J. Jonah Jameson, Kraven the Hunter, Spider-Man, starts beating him to death. The makeshift Avengers team, if you will, even though neither of these characters were at the time in the Avengers, go after Spider-Man or Kraven the Hunter, and they beat the crap out of him. And basically, they avenge the death of their friend Spider-Man. And there's like this really emotional scene where like they realize like he's trying to eat Spider-Man's body, like he's trying to consume his enemy to gain his power, which is like whatever, Kraven. But like they're like really distraught about it. They're kind of scarred by the whole experience, and so they sort of shoo him away, and they have to tell Mary. There's a scene where they go to Mary Jane, and they have to like tell her about Peter Parker's death. Like they only just confirmed it, and so like, you know, it's very emotional. The second half of this book is very emotional, and they put Kraven away. They tell Aunt May about it. Aunt May lashes out. They have a funeral for Spider-Man, for Peter Parker. Flash Thompson's there, the Human Torch is there, everybody's there. And then they hold a press conference saying, like, Spider-Man gave his life, blah, 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 Spider-Man was a hero. And then J. Jonah Jameson has to come in and ruin everything. And so now, basically, in this universe, Spider-Man is perceived as, like a monster, even though he gave his life helping other people. He goes on a whole tirade against Spider-Man, against Peter Parker, even though he's dead, which is messed up. And so basically the world hates superheroes after this point. And so basically something that happens here is something that actually happens in Civil War. J. Jonah Jameson in this universe kind of brings about the Superhuman Registration Act, and so a lot of these heroes actually have to go into hiding. But Mary Jane becomes like a very prominent public activist, an advocate for superheroes and superheroing, in honor of her husband Peter. And there's Reed Richards speaking. And the book ends on a very somber note, a very depressing note, as often these books did, which is, you know, too bad. Because like pretty much every time these books end, you know, in like a very depressing or sad way. It wasn't always the case, but often it was. But yeah, no, they're like really interesting, very good oftentimes very touching looks into what if scenarios in the Marvel Universe, stories you know, but they play out differently and stuff like that. What if Spider-Man had 6 arms? Obviously, a lot of them are Spider-Man based. What if Spider-Man had 6 arms? What if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four? You know, what if Spider-Man had a daughter? What if the Venom symbiote had bonded with, or what if Spider-Man had kept the symbiote or what have you, and what if it had bonded with Hulk and so forth, and what if Spider-Man had married the Black Cat rather than Mary Jane? Basically, they're all Spider-Man, but you get the occasional like Fantastic Four one, or in this case Thor one, which we'll be getting to soon. That's not too out of focus. But yeah, you know, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I recommend getting into these books. Actually, I was going to make a video a long time back, and I think I still might because I'm trying to upload more frequently. But like top 10 underrated comics of the 1990s, and this series is one of the things on that top 10 list. By the way, the art is beautiful in this. I believe it's John Buscema or Sal Buscema who did the art for this. Let's see. Nope, Richard Howell. So, anyway, I'll sorry, I got distracted. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.